Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Brotherly Love Sports Talk. Today we're going to be talking about the Eagles 2020 draft class as a whole. So, let's get right into it. So, we're going to start off with Jalen Reagor. I made a whole video about him, so if you missed it, you can go check that out. But just because of that, I'm not going to get too into him. But I have him, I mentioned a lot last video how much of a dynamic playmaker he is. He's an elite athlete. I had him as my fifth receiver in the draft, and we took him as the fourth receiver in the draft. So, maybe reach a little bit, but yeah. Also, like I said in the last video, he suffered from horrible quarterback play in his senior year in college, but still managed to showcase his explosiveness. So, yeah. All right, so on to the next pick in the second round, 53rd overall. We all know about it. Some of us love it, some of us hate it, but Jalen Hurts. So my initial reaction, like everyone else's, was I was pretty shocked. I was just in utter disbelief, and I couldn't imagine what Howie and Doug were thinking about this pick. With time, I really started to think it out, though, and the possible packages we can put in with Hurts. And the pick has really started to grow on me. So I just thought about a scenario where just imagine you have Wentz and Hurts in the backfield. You can run an RPO where Wentz has the option to either throw a quick slant or hand it off to Hurts, where he can then either throw on the run or just run, which he does both at an elite level. And he grew very much as a thrower over time in college, and he really was two different quarterbacks at Alabama and Oklahoma. He really defined his throwing mechanics. And he was actually ranked as one of the best deep ball throwers in college this year, which was really surprising to me. Obviously CeeDee Lamb helped with that, but, I also think that Hurts is a great, cheap backup, like high-quality backup for the next, 5 years. And I'm not exactly sure what the Eagles' plan is with him, but we could eventually flip him for, hopefully a first or second round pick if that was what the. All right, so just a quick look at Jalen Hurts' stats. Obviously the focus is 2019, but as you can see from 2016 to 2019, how much he's improved as a thrower. Just look at the completion percentage. All the way down from 62 to 60, obviously 72%, which he had limited attempts with backing up Tua, but all the way up to 69.7%. 3,850 throwing yards, 32 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, which is a very impressive ratio. And then also, as you can see down here, almost 1,300 rushing yards and 20 rushing touchdowns. That just shows how big of a dual threat he really is, and how he could really be a weapon for this Eagles offense. All right, so up next, we got our third-round pick, Davion Taylor, the explosive, undersized linebacker that could be more of a hybrid linebacker safety. But this pick really continues the speed theme. He's an explosive athlete, but a raw linebacker prospect. Like I said, he's more of a linebacker safety hybrid due to his size at only 230, excuse me. But ran a 4.4 speed at the linebacker position is unbelievable. And when he hits someone, they feel it. He's got some pop. He attacks the ball, but is raw in coverage. Plays with great effort. There's several plays on tape I was watching where Colorado is down by, up to 30, 40 points to these powerhouses, and he's still just running down players and not giving up on plays that were, easy touchdowns for the opposition, which is something that Philly fans love. So I think he could really be a fan favorite here. NFL.com describes him as a boomer bust prospect, which I pretty much agree with, due to how high his ceiling could be, but how raw he really is. If we can teach him to be more of a technician than just relying on his freaky athleticism, I think he could develop. And if he is able to develop, I could see him possibly taking on a starting role by the end of this year or the beginning of 2021. Just a quick look at Davion Taylor's stats. So obviously you'd love to see improvement in all major departments that are, important for a linebacker. Obviously increase in total tackles, solo tackles. You love to see the upgrade from 2 to 4 passes defense, because that really shows how he's improved and developed as a coverage linebacker, and hopefully he continues to develop. Only 1 sack each year, but what are you going to do? It's a little underwhelming, but he's an inside linebacker. Hopefully he continues to develop as a technician, and he could really be a key part of this Eagles defense. All right, so up next, we got our 4th-round pick, K'Von Wallace, a safety out of Clemson. Guys, I'm so high on this kid. This is my favorite pick of our entire draft. I truly believe he was the steal of the draft. Super underrated. On a Clemson defense where he shared the field with Isaiah Simmons, and that just seems to be what all scouts care about, you know? Isaiah Simmons is just such a freak, but Wallace, super experienced player, meaningful playing time in all 4 years at Clemson. He's played in the big game, obviously a national champion. So, yeah, but another interesting thing, which really has me sold on Wallace, he was ranked as the best cover safety in the entire draft by PFF. That's over Grant Delpit, Xavier McKinney, all these great safeties that were drafted in the 2nd round, 3rd round. He has a fire about him that I absolutely love, and he's really motivated by the fact that he slipped to the 4th round. You saw how he's in his press conferences talking about how we got him for a cheap price. And he's also going on record saying that he hates the Cowboys, which is great for an Eagles player. It's also a bonus, like I said, it's also a bonus that he said he hated the Cowboys. With Mills sliding to safety and the signing of Will Parks, Wallace will most likely not start this year, but he could be on the field in some of these 3 safety sets that Jim Schwartz loves to run. So, yeah, another versatile safety added to the mix to go along with Will Parks, and we'll see how Mills does as a safety, but obviously we still got McLeod there. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to see how Wallace pans out in this defense. And like I said, I'm really high on him. All right, so look at K'Von Wallace's stats. Like I said, he played all 4 years at Clemson. Obviously not huge numbers his freshman season, but if you can get on the field as a freshman on Clemson, that's saying something. But, even a pick there freshman year. But you can really just see the steady improvement over the 4 years and how solid he became as a cover safety, excuse me. Pick all 3 years, and then senior year he has 2 picks, even a couple sacks in there, and he goes from 3 all the way up to 10 passes defensed, and he's up from 36 to 47 tackles. So, yeah, just steady improvement over the last 4 years. He's very experienced, veteran, older rookie, obviously, is a 4th year coming out. But, I'm just super excited about this kid. So, on to our next pick. The Eagles selected Jack Driscoll, tackle, guard, whatever center you want to call him, out of Auburn. He played right tackle out of Auburn. But, this is a good value pick. While most people thought he was going to play tackle in the NFL, he measured in with short arms at the combine. But luckily he's athletic and he has pretty good feet. So he has the ability and the versatility to play guard and center, which is apparently what he's going to do for the Eagles. Like I said, it's a pretty good value pick. He's most likely going to be a swing guard for us. And probably could back up center as well, if you think about it. Obviously experienced. I think he could pan out to be maybe a starting level guard in the NFL. Our offensive line's getting pretty old. Could be pretty banged up this year, so you never know. Maybe he could come in and provide some valuable playing time. We'll see. All right, so after the Driscoll pick, we take another wide receiver. And this is another guy who I like, John Hightower. So he's a little undersized, not height-wise. He's about 6'1", 6'2", but weight, he's about 180 pounds. So he struggled a little bit with getting off the press and releasing off, press coverage. But just another explosive playmaker, 4.43 speed, which is very good. Underrated route runner, and actually, I thought he was really underrated in his ability to high point the football in contested catch situations. Like I said, another explosive athlete. He thrives in the punt and kick return game. I'm pretty high on this kid. And as we all know, it was a really deep receiver class this year. But a lot of people had, a third or fourth round grade on him, and we got him in the 5th round. And a lot of people were saying that he easily could have been a 3rd-round pick in any other draft. He's one of those guys that he does everything pretty well, but nothing really great, which is why he fell. So, the top receivers in the draft, obviously CeeDee Lamb, he does everything well, but the thing that sticks out for him is his run after the catch. The thing with Jerry Jeudy is his route running, and the thing with Henry Ruggs, obviously, is that 4.27 speed. But Hightower is just he doesn't do anything that really sticks out and just jumps off the tape at you. But he's really good at everything. But because of the fact that he doesn't do anything great is why he fell. All in all, it's a good pick with a lot of upside, and I think he makes the roster. And he could potentially be a wide receiver 4 for us. All right, so we're going to take a look at John Hightower's stats here real quick. Obviously, big change in production from his 2018 to 2019 seasons. He was a guy that came from junior college, track star, and he transitioned to football and worked out pretty well for him. But obviously, increasing 20 catches, over 400 yards, that 18.5 average yards per catch, that just jumps off the paper at you, along with 8 touchdowns. He also had a kick return touchdown in there. Like I said, he's very explosive in the kick return game. But yeah, I think this is an exciting pick. Underrated, like I said, gets in and out of his breaks pretty well. And I think he could develop with a lot of these elite speed receivers that the Eagles have brought in. So, yeah, we'll see how Hightower works out. So with our next pick in the 6th round, we drafted the hometown kid himself, Shaun Bradley. First thing I have in my notes about this kid is he's Temple tough. A cool story about how he grew up as an Eagles fan. And I think because he knows all about the Philly mentality, he's going to quickly become a fan favorite. But onto his production and his stats and everything. So he's just another undersized linebacker with a lot of speed and athleticism, which is really the direction that position's going in. I like the pick, and I think he has enough speed and nose for the football to come in and compete in a weak linebacker room. As we all know, the linebacker position is the absolute weakest point in this Eagles roster. He also had good production on special teams, which could help him land a roster spot. So, yeah, I hope this kid makes the team. See how it works out. So, look at Shaun Bradley's stats. Obviously, pretty good 3-year production here. Another thing I forgot to mention, he was awarded a single-digit number at Temple, and for any real Temple or Philly fan, they know how important that is. But, yeah, pretty good increase in production here, all the way up to 87 total tackles, which is pretty good for an inside linebacker. Like I said, he's got a pretty good nose for the football. 3 passes defense. Doesn't really show for that, but on tape, he really just attacks the football, and he uses that speed and athleticism to his advantage. So, yeah. All right, so on to our next pick. We got none other than the man, Quez Watkins. Shout out to my guys, Lord Brunson and Philly 500. They really put me onto this guy early, and they were really high on this kid. And I just looked at him and I said, Southern Miss, and I wasn't expecting too much, but 4.35 speed is all you need to know. He's about 6'2", 190. Once I watched his tape, I just fell in love with this kid. After we picked Hightower, I was pretty upset because I was like, all right, if we were gonna go with pure speed, why wouldn't we go with Watkins? And then we end up with Watkins and Hightower. So yeah, I'm really amped about this pick. He's an unbelievable athlete, and he really developed as a route runner over the years in college. This is the kind of guy you just get the ball in his hands any way possible. He can be an elite deep threat with that rare size and speed combination. If he can really learn how to manipulate defenders, which his teammates Deshaun Jackson and Jalen Reagor do very well, he could develop into a good deep threat. And I don't really see him with a lot of success running those underneath routes, outs, and all that kind of stuff. I just more see him as let him run up the sideline and catch a great pass from Carson Wentz, 50, 60-yard bomb. But, yeah, this is an exciting pick with a lot of upside. And I really hope that he makes the team, but with all the competition we have in the wide receiver room, bringing in 4 wide receivers with obviously Goodwin in the draft as well, really it's going to make it hard for Watkins to make the team, but I really, really hope he does. All right, so look at Quez Watkins' stats. Didn't have too much of an impact his freshman season, which happens when, he really grew into his speed. As weird as that sounds, he said in a lot of interviews that he really learned how to run properly, and that's what made him faster. But then, his sophomore season, he comes out with 72 receptions and 889 yards and 9 touchdowns. And then his senior season, he just absolutely explodes with 64 catches, 1,178 yards, and 6 touchdowns. And that 18.4 yards per catch is what you love to see as a speed receiver. That's just a downfield threat. So, yeah, it's great to see those yards gradually go up, and that yards per catch at over 18, which is elite. So, yeah, I'm really excited about Watkins. So, on to our next pick. This is just – I love this pick. I see Prince Tega Wanogho. This is how I described him, as the big V replacement with even more upside. Some people had a second-round grade on this kid, which is unbelievable that he fell this far to us. Really just blew my mind. He was still sitting there, and I was just waiting for him to fall off the board. When the Eagles picked him, I was ecstatic. He's great technique, and he's a good pass protector. Lacks a little bit in the run game, but he will most definitely be the swing tackle on our roster over Jordan Mailata. This is an outstanding value pick, and he could eventually get a lot of snaps if Lane Johnson or Andre Dillard were to go down. He has all the athletic traits you could ask for in a franchise left tackle, but he's new to the sport, and he has a ton of room to develop. So, yeah, this is another great upside pick. Yeah. Okay, last but not least, we got Casey Toohill, the edge rusher out of Stanford. He's a pretty high-level athlete, and he could eventually be a rotational piece to throw in with Barnett, Graham, Sweat, Miller, Avery. But he at this point, he's a long shot to make the team this year. But eventually he could have an impact off the edge if he can get bigger and stronger and really polish his pass rush technique. All right, so look at Casey Toohill's stats. Obviously, a nice increase over the years in production, up to 8 sacks this year, which is pretty good. Yeah, he really, like I said, he's a good athlete, but if he really just polishes his technique, I could see him eventually being a rotational piece in our defensive line. So, yeah. All right, guys, that brings us to the end of the video. Thank you so much for sticking around. Hopefully you guys stayed for the whole thing and watched it all throughout. Yeah, I'm really liking making these videos. Hopefully you guys are enjoying them. And I'll be back with some more stuff soon. All right. See you guys. Peace.